Welcome to Animorphs Anonymous, the podcast where we casually discuss the Animorphs one book at a time.
I'm Kaycie.
And I'm Alex.
And we're going to talk you through the plot of each book.
But more accurately, take you on tangent trips, factoid forays, and say, well, actually, as much as possible.
Join us on the 1st and the 15th of each month, and we'll take you along on our mission.
And we promise to have you back under the 2-hour time limit.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a grave announcement to make. Incredible as it may seem, both the observations of science and the evidence of our eyes lead to the inescapable assumption that those strange beings who landed in the Jersey farmlands tonight are the vanguard of an invading army.
Alright, Kaycie, are you gonna...
Welcome to Animorphs Anonymous. I don't know why I was falsifying being drunk there.
I don't know why either.
I mean,
Good energy.
Yep. It's my attempt at acting. I am drinking, however, a Bold Rock hard cider, peach flavored, just because we have a guest, and it's a guest episode, and we drink on those. Some of us.
Yay!
Hooray!
Yay! Yay!
Huzzah.
Welcome, guest. What is your name?
Oh, hi. Nice to meet you. Thanks for having... anyway, my name is Myisha.
Don't tell them your last name or where you live.
That's right.
No.
The most important facts you must never tell anyone.
I remember those rules. Yes, I'm Myisha.
Hello, Myisha.
Hello and welcome.
Thank you.
Why don't you tell us how you got into Animorphs?
Oh, boy. Let's see. Actually, I can remember the first book that I read, which was completely by accident. I was at a friend's house, and he had Megamorphs #1. And
Oh no!
yeah, so it wasn't even the first book, but I think Megamorphs #1 is the one where it has their 4 pictures on it, and like they're all like half of some kind of animal or something like that. And I remember distinctly seeing Cassie, and I was like, a black girl on the cover of a book, and she's also half a fly or something. And I was like, that's weird, but also, can I borrow this book? I would like to read it. So he let me borrow it. I read it like front to back, and I was like, is there more? And basically,
so
yeah, basically from there, confession, I read Animorphs when I was younger. I was deeply involved and loved it, and then kind of checked out by like book 38 or so.
Yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, so I know what happens. Like I eventually caught up and like read the summaries of the rest of them, so like I kind of know what happens in the rest of the series, but I was deeply involved in it until I wasn't, which is like probably pretty deep in the ghostwriting phase, I think. So
Okay.
yeah. But yeah, still probably one of my very, very formative influences.
Yeah.
So I still have all my books at my parents' house. They really wish I would get rid of them, or at least put them in my own house.
Yes,
So yeah, I have Visser, like the book, because I've had it, I don't know, since it came out, I guess. So I read the actual physical hardcover book and everything.
That's awesome. And did you read the physical copy for this, or you read a digital version for this?
No, I read the physical copy. For some reason, whenever I moved out of my parents' place, I decided to take like a few Animorphs books. Mm-hmm. So I took Visser, I think probably one of the Megamorphs, and I think the hork-bajir Chronicles, and then maybe Elfanger's book. I think that was it.
Oh, so you took all the non-serial books.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I was like, there's no way I
ones.
can fit... Yeah, I couldn't fit all of those in my house. So I was like, I'll just take a select few.
The high points of the series.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is so interesting. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like most of the people we talk to never start on the first book in the series.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, oh man, I really like that.
I was going to say, I can only assume that's why they have the characters reintroduce themselves every single time. So.
Yeah. That was absolutely why they did it, because they wanted to start on any book. But that is really interesting, because I don't think I know anyone that started on book 1. I think even when we had Stephanie on, she said she started at one of Jake's books or something.
Mm-hmm.
Not the first, but one of Jake's books.
Yeah.
And I started on Tobias's first book, which was a huge mistake.
God, that is a huge mistake. You guys both started on like really crazy books to have as your first experience.
Yeah. Oh man.
That's awesome.
Good way to dive in to the whole tone of the series, I guess.
Yeah. Well, this is like the morph sequence in this book. Kaycie, you probably didn't get it, but it is a kid going up to the Yeerk pool and a Yeerk dropping out of his ear. It's like crazy. The morph sequence, like when you flip the pages.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a kid dropping a Yeerk in the pool.
Yeah, and the Yeerk swims around and then goes back into his ear.
Yeah.
Whoa!
It's really creepy.
I'm trying to picture what that looks like. I'll have to find that later.
If I had another hand so I could hold my phone as the camera and then flip it for you, I would.
Oh, yeah.
But I do not.
All right.
But yeah, it's a crazy sequence. I forgot that this, or maybe I never had the actual physical copy of Visser until recently. I don't know, but man.
What did y'all think of the cover of this book?
Okay, so
sorry.
The cover is I was gonna say the cover is beautiful and great. So I had Visser for like a very long time before actually reading it for the first time. Like literally maybe last year. Again, I just collected a whole bunch of books and then it was just like, I'll read them. Anywho, so I thought for the longest time, just looking at the cover, that it was about Visser 3, and then when I finally read it, I was like, oh shit, no, it's not.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Very misleading, which was fine for me.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be like present day, like having his own adventure, but from his point of view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is very misleading.
I guess it makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense because like if you want to draw people in, you're like, okay, well, you know, here's one of the most prominent villains of the book, and he's on the cover, so.
Well, I mean, the other option is like, here's a housewife. And, like, if you want to get kids, like, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's, okay, so here's another thing. If you have the physical copy of the book, if you look at the cover, all of his eyes are pointed towards you. If you look at the back cover, just one of his stalk eyes is pointed back at you.
What?
Yeah.
Whoa, okay. So, I didn't know that because there is a border sticker over the back of his eye stalks, which I'm gonna take off right now.
Yeah, you gotta take it off.
Oh my god, that's so
awesome.
Creepy.
Oh, that's probably
That's so
why
creepy.
maybe the store clerk was like, "Oh, this is creepy. I'm gonna put the sticker in."
Wow. Ooh, I bought this. I'm so sorry. I don't know why. I'm just like fascinated by the fact that I still have this hardcover book. I bought this apparently October 21st, 1999.
Whoa!
Aww.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
What? Is it 10 years ago?
Yeah, 1999. It's 2019. Okay. Wait, 20 years
nope.
ago.
Oh, 20 years.
was like, wait a
oh my
minute.
gosh.
Math is terrifying.
I'm not 30. This is awesome.
I wish I knew how old I was at any given point in time.
Listen, you said 10 years ago, and I was like, yeah, that's right.
I know,
Yes.
right? It feels like the 90s was 10 years ago.
Oh my god. Anyone who's born in the year 2000 has it so easy because, like, adding and subtracting years is going to be just so, like, straightforward for them.
Yeah.
I was not only born in the 90s, I was born in 1989. So I have to, like, add a year, and it's just, oh, God.
I mean, I guess at least it's just adding 1 year. I was born in 86, so it's like...
Oh, yeah.
Subtract 4, add... Wait, no. Subtract 6 or add 4. Math. Math.
I just give up. I'm like, I don't know.
Just say you're in your early, late 20s.
I will say that.
There you go.
Yeah, I think this cover's, like, super badass. I love that illustration. Some
Me
good
too.
foreshortening here.
Some excellent foreshortening and, like, abs for days.
He does have
Definitely
a
abs for days.
fuckload of abs.
So many abs.
It's very, it's kind of like Boris Vallejo kind of vibe from this.
Yeah. You know, it super is. Except for the hooves. It very much is. I wonder if
outer
this,
glow.
like... Yeah. On a space background. Because theme.
Yeah.
God, his tail is so long.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
I'm trying to find the credit to the artist, but I am not finding it in my very quick flipping of the pages.
Nobody credits the artist.
Oh, jacket painting by Romas Kukalis. It's Romas, and then last name Kukalis.
Huh. Okay, so not our normal guy at all. And that's really interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I like it. Good job. Because I'm sure the artist is listening to this.
He's our only fan.
Do you know if it's the same artist who did the hork-bajir Chronicles?
I can find out.
It has a very similar kind of like look.
Oh, yeah.
Technically, I could probably find out too, but I think that book is in my living room.
Oh, I grabbed it off my shelf.
Nice.
Not that I had success in finding who is here. Yeah, Romas Kukal. Yeah, same guy.
Aha!
Oh,
right.
I feel bad because I feel like I kind of tore that cover apart.
Well, we did because of his ass shot of Aldrea. It was inappropriate.
Aldrea's like
we didn't
super
like it.
sexy. Yeah.
But you had to know that she was a female.
Yeah.
I
Because
guess.
women
Yeah.
have legs and eyelashes and shit. And men
Yeah,
don't.
it's a little ridiculous.
Men do not have eyelashes.
Never once have I seen a man with an eyelash.
Ooh. I'm looking at the Andalek Chronicles cover. That's really cool. Oh man, that hand. That rim lighting. Damn.
Yeah, that one is an excellent cover.
Oh, I do have that one on my shelf.
Oh god. Andalites are so buff. I don't like this.
They're the bodybuilders of the alien world.
I guess. Swole as hell.
Okay, I had to get away from my microphone real quick so I could look at it. Yup.
Yep, they swole.
Real cool. Okay, now I'm just shuffling papers in front of the microphone, so I'm just gonna...
Yeah.
That's the type of
set that.
audio examples that we love here. Man, so what did you guys think of this book overall? What was your impression?
I personally love it, but that's also because I love anything that gives us more insight into alien, like, society and, like, a more interesting insight into villains and how they think. Like, I know in Cassie's book, obviously, we have, like, some insight to Yeerks, but this was, like, even more so. Mm-hmm. Plus, anything related to Marco, I'm all about. So.
Should I guess that Marco is your favorite character?
He's definitely up there. So,
Okay.
him and, actually, Cassie are my favorites.
Nice.
That's fair. Kaycie's a Cassie fan as well.
Nice.
It's like Kaycie and Alex.
Yeah, actually, also Axe.
Yeah.
Everyone's my favorite at any given point in time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Alex is Rachel, of course.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, Rachel is a boss, so
Ugh.
I
that is
adore
understandable.
Rachel in a scary way, in like a scary, way too much kind of a way. I really adore Rachel.
Can't ever be scary. She is amazing.
She is so amazing. I love her so much.
Oh man, character rating in this book is going to be hard because they're barely in it.
Yeah, they're barely there.
Yeah, I don't even know if we want to do that in this one because it's like,
Sure,
what do you think of Visser 1? What do you think of Visser 3? There's your rating.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, this book was like crazy intense.
Yeah.
Gosh, I do love when they flesh out villain characters and make them more complex. And like, I think the last time we saw Visser 1, I was kind of critical of her because I thought she was just being kind of like over the top ridiculous villain, and she didn't really show me much depth. But in this one, it's like, holy shit, you are layered as hell.
Yeah. Have all the depth. All of a sudden, here you go.
Yeah.
When is the last time we see her in the books?
It was when Marco pushed her over a cliff.
Okay, it was. I did listen to that episode, so I was like trying to brush up, and I was like, I think it was that one, so he thought she was... Anywho, okay.
Yeah, that was the last time. And then the last book that happens right before this one is The Proposal, which is the one where Marco's dad gets married to his math teacher.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So there's a lot of intense emotions going on right
oh boy.
now. Yeah. It's super intense.
Ugh.
But man, I love this book. Like, I was telling Kaycie, I think this is my favorite, like, side book of all, like, the Megamorphs and, like, the Chronicles. I think this is probably my most favorite one.
Mm-hmm.
That is so exciting to hear, which I'm totally fine with talking about, like, books that people don't like. But, again, my Animorphs love is deep and very old. So.
Same.
Perfect.
Yeah. The last time I saw you, you wouldn't have seen it. I actually have an Animorphs tattoo on my body now, so like,
What?
I'm there.
That's awesome. May I ask of what?
I just have 2 words, and it's the Y, like you would see at the beginning of the chapters, like the big Animorphs Y, and then
nice.
the book font, and it just says "You mattered."
That's awesome and also incredibly sad, and I love it.
I enjoy it too, and Kaycie doesn't know.
I like, without spoiling, I think I know what it pertains to, but
I'm sure you do.
I don't know the full
you might.
emotional weight of this particular thing, so
You'll read it and you'll be like, "Oh no, why did you tattoo that on your body?"
Yeah. My very soul will be crushed, and I'm looking forward to it.
You know that's permanent, right? If it helps, though, and this is like, it's going to sound like a brag, but it's really just because I want to impress upon Kaycie how intense it is. I met Catherine Applegate, and when she saw it, she's like, "That is the perfect tattoo. Can I get that tattoo?" And I'm like, "Yes, please do it."
Okay, first of all, you met Catherine Applegate.
I did. I
am
lost
jealous.
my fucking mind.
I would have too. That's amazing.
She is the sweetest, most wonderful person you will ever meet. She's truly amazing. She, like, when they say don't meet your heroes, they did not mean Applegate. She's the best.
Oh man. I think I would. Would I burst into tears if I ever met her? I don't know. I guess I would have to I probably wouldn't. I'm cool. No.
I held it to, like, I didn't cry at any point, but I held it together at first, like, trying to be, like, low key, like, we're having a conversation. This is cool. She
I'm an adult.
Books. Yeah, I'm an adult. This is fine. I know you're here for Endling, and there's a bunch of, like, 10-year-olds, but let's talk about me for a minute, the almost 30-year-old here. And I was like, no, seriously, I, like, love your books. And I used to work at, like, a bird rehab clinic, and I was telling her, like, because of Animorphs, and she gave me, like, 10 hugs. And then I finally, like, on, like, the 3rd or 4th hug, I just, like, lost my mind. I was like, I think everything in my life is related to Animorphs at this point. And then I was like, I have to fucking leave. I'm out.
Oh god.
So yeah,
That's awesome.
but if you ever get the chance to meet her, I highly recommend it. She is so amazing.
Oh man, I would love to do that someday.
Yeah, it's worth it. Oh, so good. Oh man, should I start recapping this book, or do we have any more stories we want to go through before I get into this mess?
Let's do it to it.
I'm ready to die.
Okay. I have, just to warn you, 9 pages and a paragraph of notes.
Cool.
So I will go through this, like, it's mostly because it's very detailed. I'm just going to go chapter by chapter and try to get through it as fast as we can without skipping over any of the super important shit that we learn. So.
Okay.
And we will interrupt like crazy, I'm sure. And prolong everything.
Prolong absolutely everything. And also, I just want to apologize beforehand to anybody in the audience here that has not read this book, because it's really fucking amazing and my notes do not do it justice. So read it.
Yeah.
So whatever I say, it does not do it justice. It's amazing.
Yes.
Okay, so this book opens with the day that Ava died. And I'm going to say Ava. It might be Eva. I have a friend with the same name, and I switch between Ava and Eva. I'm sticking with Ava for this book.
Oh, I love Eva.
Yes, but Ava.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
So Ava walks around the house talking to her husband while he watches TV, distracted from her. She goes to check on Marco, her son, who is sick. And in her head, the real Eva, God damn it, I'm switching already. The real Eva begs the Yeerk to hold Marco one last time. This request is ignored. Eva tells her husband that she's going to go check on the boat, and he teases her that ever since that boat came into their lives, Marco has competition as the favorite child. Then he warns her against taking it out, saying it's looking pretty stormy outside. She goes, don't worry, I'm just going to go and check the mooring. It's no big deal. So she heads to the marina, she gets in the boat, and that's when we find out she's going to sail away and disappear. She skillfully sails out of the harbor, and there's this excellent description of, like, this boat being a living thing that she has to take between land and sea and air, and, like, she doesn't use the motor because she's way too cool for that.
I actually asked Matt, who used to sail a lot when we lived in California. I was like, can you do that? Is that real? And he's like, yeah, it's difficult, but, you know, if the wind is right, it's definitely possible. So she's just fucking awesome, I guess.
She's just that good.
She is amazing at sailing. Which is why it breaks her heart when, as she sails out of the harbor, she raises more sail than is advisable in this weather so that people can see it, because she wants to give anybody who sees her a culprit in her death. So she sails far out like this with the sail way higher than it should be. And we find out that she's going into the ocean, like middle of the ocean, where a bug fighter can pick her up, and then they can use the backwash from the bug fighter to capsize the boat, or she's going to have the Taxon pilot try to knock it over if she's feeling a little sassy when she gets on the ship. And all of this is so she can break free from her current situation and step into the role of Visser 1. So that's chapter 1. That's where we start.
Yeah. We're starting at an 11. It's only more intense from there.
They crank it all the way right before we get into it. Yeah. So then we jump to a scene, which is what we can only guess many years later, where Visser 1 is standing trial. She's observing the Council of 13 in their robes. Many of them are hork-bajir or Taxon, and a couple are forms that she doesn't really even know what they are, and she can't guess at because they're, like, cloaked in these dark robes that don't give off any sort of shape. And then there's Garoff, her mentor, who's acting as the mouthpiece for the council. The person that is standing against her is Visser 3. And then the charges are read. And most of them are some form of treason punishable by death. And, like, some of them are very, like, kind of minor offenses to be punished.
Impersonating a bishop of the Church of England.
Death.
Yeah, it's basically like... My favorite one. Okay, so they go through all these charges. It's like treason against the Empire, stealing a ship. Well, like, stealing a ship isn't one of them. But it's like shit like that they're like, death, Kandrona starvation, both, whatever. But then there's one charge, which is killing Yeerk subordinates, and that is punishable by sending her to a labor camp where she's allowed to live. Like,
yeah, they're just like, that's not that big of a crime. It's fine.
No one cares if you kill a few subordinates. Who cares?
Murder is much less intense in the Yeerk society.
Yeah, they don't give a shit about killing people that are below them.
Damn.
No.
So yeah, we find all that out, and then we also found out that Ava's face has been burned. Like, not beyond recognition, but like half of her face is like red and raw like hamburger meat, and the other half
Zuko.
Can't. She's Zukoing it up very badly. So on top of like being burned, she's also got a bunch of like broken bones, and a lot of them are healing like kind of cattywampus because she's just been left in prison with no medical attention after falling off that cliff. And she's also been beaten since going to prison. So she's got a lot of shit happening.
Real bad time.
Yeah, she's not having a great time.
It could be better.
It could be better. So, like, her host body, none of the injuries have been treated, but also Visser 1 is very weak because Visser 3 has been starving her. So they say at one point that Visser 1 is, like, half a day away from complete starvation. This is the circumstances in which they're letting Visser 1 stand trial, is this. Visser 3, of course, is gloating because he thinks he's already won this thing, and he believes that he'll be the one to carry out her sentence, and then Ava is told to plead her case. She starts off by remembering the two humans that they originally came in contact with. So basically we do a quick recap of the Andalek Chronicles. Lauren and Chapman were there, and then she's like, the Andalek ship boarded the Skritnaw ship, and then they flew into Taxon space. We don't know why, and they stole a Yeerk vessel. They made it onto the Taxon homeworld, and then she mentions, like, these events aren't necessarily reported in order. We're not sure. It doesn't seem to be accurately reported at all. And then she accuses Visser 3 of being the real traitor and befriending Aloran and Elfangor. Like, they're just hurling accusations at each other. Almost completely baseless.
Oh my god.
Just say a thing out loud, see if it sticks.
Pretty much.
You know? Yeah.
You're the traitor. No, you're the traitor. Your mom.
And it's literally like, I suspect you've worked with them because of this extenuating circumstance. And then it's like, no, you worked with the Andalites because how did, the Skritnaw get away? And it's like, well, there's a whole bunch of shit that could have happened.
It's very, I saw Goody Proctor communing with the devil or whatever. Just like, you were in the area, so clearly you must have conspired.
God.
Well, she didn't float, so she's not a witch, but also she's dead. Yeah. It's very old school kind of way to run a trial.
Yeah.
But Visser won by accusing Visser 3 of befriending Aloran and Elfangor. One of those, his very host body, just enrages Visser 3, and he starts whipping his tail around. And so he's already looking like, oh, he doesn't have control of himself. Like, Ava's already coming out looking better right at the start of this trial.
Yeah.
So, yeah. She's sowing the seeds of doubt amongst the Council of 13. And they're basically playing like mommy and daddy. They're like, okay, don't talk to each other. Don't even look at each other. Just talk to us. Like,
I wrote that Visser 3 is such a man baby.
He is. He's a huge man baby.
He is.
Yeah. He, like, until the very end of this trial, he has, no control over himself. Like, it's just depressing at some points.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean... She says, like, way later on, she's like, I'm surprised you, like, were actually able to get as far as you did. Just basically being, like, the cluster F of a person that you are. Like,
yeah. And that's accurate. I, too, am surprised. And another thing they say, not to, like, jump around completely, but I'm going to. At one point, she says something like, how did you study the Andalites so intensely and learn so much about the Andalites, and you did not apply the same principle here on Earth? Like, that is so fucking dumb. Yeah.
I had a moment when I was reading that part again that I was just like, thank you. Very valid point.
Dishing out
Someone
the truth.
finally said it. Yeah. Oh, man. It's so good, though. So, they both quieted down after the Council of 13 is like, stop speaking to each other, talk only to us, and just behave yourselves. So, Visser 1 was saying, like, I came here, I was sure I had located this Class 5 species, but I only knew a general location because Visser 3 had, of course, allowed the Skritnaw ship to escape. So, after months of searching, I had found 3 likely places where it might be. But when she went to tell her superior, Sub-Visser 17... the sub-visor is basically like, you're wasting your time, don't fucking do this, like, you haven't found anything, just shut up, there's no class 5 species, whatever. Visser 1 then very heavily implied in this statement that Visser 3 was trying to protect this information, and that's why Sub-Visor 17 dismissed her. And then she mentions later she found out that that wasn't the case, it was just mass incompetence. But we don't really find out what that story is. Like, she just mentions, like, no, he was just totally incompetent at his job. So, hey! We then find out that Visser 1 stole a ship, took it without permission, and flew it towards Earth. And Visser 3 is like, aha! She admits to stealing a ship! Put her to death immediately! The council's like, no, we forgave her for that crime a long-ass time ago. This is totally fine. So, they then say that what they want to do to, like, find out what's happening is watch Visser 1's memory dump of this time period. They want to see what she saw firsthand, see why she made the decisions she did, and then there's some more posturing because Visser 3 was like, she should do a current memory dump, we should watch what's going on right now. And, like, the council just goes, no, visitors aren't required to do memory dumps. That's, like, indignant. That's for, like, the lower people. We don't do that here.
Yeah.
Which is really weird, but whatever.
Right?
It's, like, whatever. I don't understand why they wouldn't be like, you're on trial, you have to do a memory dump. And then we find out later that they can do it for specific time periods and not, like, don't let it bleed into, like, other memories. So I don't know why they didn't. But
just didn't do that from the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah. It would have saved us a lot of time. But then it wouldn't be this amazing book. So
True.
Shouldn't complain. So they start going through Visser 1's memory dump, and this is of the time when she first came to Earth and, like, what they were first experiencing. So it's almost like a movie that they're, like, immersed in, and everybody gets to see it together.
Aw.
Eating popcorn.
Gather around the tube. Watch the flashback.
It's like the Star Trek I don't know if you guys watch Star Trek, but basically if a character is in an episode at the end and missed the beginning of the episode, they just have the character watch the beginning of the episode on a TV so they're caught up. It's the first thing they do with Riker in like episode 1 when they're like, you missed the first half of like docking and Q, so here, watch this on a TV and come back to us when you know what's going on.
Oh my god.
Anyways, sorry. There's a lot of Star Trek in this book as well, which is really exciting for me.
There totally is. I mean, the Andalites are basically the Andorians, but like with horse bodies, so yeah.
Oh, so good. So good. I love all the Star Trek in these books. And I love that Star Wars is like not as big of a thing. Other than giving it a weird name drop, saying like episode 1 was actually pretty good.
Oh my god.
Anyway. Wow. Yep. That's when this took place.
Yeah, it is.
These books are old.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, it's harder to believe that Star Wars episode 1, 2, and 3 are like 20 years old now. Like, that's worse for me than anything else.
That's the worst thing I've ever heard.
So anyways, Visser 1's memory starts playing. They're on the stolen ship, and she's with Essam, a Yeerk with a hork-bajir host that she took with her, mostly because of his poor choices due to morality.
Essam was too nice.
Yeah, he's a softy boy.
Pretty much. She's like, I'm taking him because he's soft. Like, he made it to, like, a sub-Visser rank and then got demoted because he was, like, too empathetic. So, yay. They're gonna pop out a Z-space soon in the stolen ship, and if Essam's calculations are correct, they will have enough supplies to keep them alive for a very short amount of time, but we're talking, like, hours. Essam will return to the pool on board of the ship, like the little portable Yeerk pool, and his hork-bajir host will be killed so that Visser 1 can stay alive for longer. And throughout this book, Visser 1 changes ranks, but for continuity, I'm just going to keep calling her Visser 1. And also her, because she says, like, she seems to identify with being a mother and that sort of shit. So yeah, I'm just going to keep doing that. So cool. If you're like, wow, she wasn't Visser 1 at this time. She was like, sub-Visser 471 or whatever. I'm not.
Nobody can keep track of that shit.
Yeah. If I do that, we will get so confused. I refer to her either as Visser 1, and then later in the book, I refer to her just by the first part of her Yeerk name, which is
Edris.
Edris? Yeah, there we go. Edris.
Yeah.
So those are the two names for her that I refer to her as in this book. She's not Visser 1 right now. Just
or is it
clarifying.
Idris?
Could be Idris. I don't know.
I don't know either.
And then a numbered designation. Yeah, she's Visser 1 to me.
Me too. Perfect.
So, just to interrupt, I noticed a lot of the Yeerk names start with E.
Yes.
You've got Ephraim.
I do.
Is it Ephraim? I forgot.
Yeah.
The Yeerk that Cassie's friends with.
I think that's Ephraim, yeah.
Yeah, and like Essam and Idris and whatever Visser 3's real name is, I think is also an E.
Espelin something.
Yeah. There's so many E's.
There are.
Yeah, it must be like a naming convention that is common as the same with whatever the naming convention is for the Andalites that I've already forgotten. But yes.
What even is the Andalite naming convention, though?
Do they mostly start with vowels?
I know that like Axe and Elfangor have different parts of their parents' names in their names. So I think Axe has like part of his mother's name and Elfangor had part of his father's name.
Cute.
Yeah. I can't remember which part, but...
Oh my god.
I'm struggling so hard to remember Axe's mother's name, which I did know at one point, but no longer do. They're just all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the Yeerk names, like, most of them seem to start with E, but I think we've encountered other Yeerks. Yeah,
Aftran. That's...
Oh, right.
Yeah. But, I mean, they all start with vowels, I guess.
Yeah.
I think there was the one, though, that started... Didn't it start differently? The one in, like, Axe's first book when he first contacts the Andalek homeworld?
Yeah. Forgot that
There's a Yeerk named in that book, and I don't remember the name, but I have a feeling that it, like, didn't follow this convention. But it was also really early in the series.
Okay. Could just be a coinky-dink, too.
It could be. But there's a lot of E names. So if you're, like, the type of person like me that's, like, you have the first letter, and then after that it's just gibberish, you're going to have a really fucking hard time with this book.
Sure.
That's why I continued with the Visser 1 convention. I'm like, I'm not going to try to switch it up. So anyways, yeah. So SM will return to the pool on board, and the hork-bajir will be killed, and Visser 1 will be able to take more resources and live for longer. And Visser 1 knows that she's asking a lot because he may not get another host. Remember, this is when the Yeerks are still, like, having trouble securing enough hosts for everybody, so there's a lot of, like, backlog, and you have to really, like, prove yourself to get a host and wait a long time. So,
right, there's that one part where she's training the new recruits or whatever, and she like kills someone for speaking out of turn, but she's like, oh, but they were a Ged host, so it's fine. If they were a hork-bajir, I wouldn't have done it, because like we need those bodies more.
Yeah.
There are far fewer of them.
Yeah, and they're way more valuable than Ged bodies.
Yes.
I say from the Yeerk perspective.
I found the Yeerk's name in question. It's Eslin, but the other Yeerk he was in love with was Durain.
Yeah, I thought it was
nice.
a D. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway.
Yeah, so.
Continue.
Well done.
Okay, so, right. They're on the ship, they pop out of Z-Space, and it turns out that SM has done an excellent job. They pop out right by our sun in our solar system, in the Milky Way galaxy.
Conveniently.
Well, they did the research. Okay. Like months of research. So it is convenient that they picked this one of the 3 places. But, like, I'm not going to say totally convenient because they did put the hours in.
No.
Small amount of credit. Half credit, half convenient.
Half credit. Partial credit.
Yeah, partial credit. They're getting a D, but they're getting the credit.
They still pass.
They do pass the class, but it is below average work. This is the part where it really does get, like, super convenient, though, because SM starts making moves to, like, start searching the moons, and Visser 1's like, no, look at the planets. I've been studying this species. This is my species, and I've envisioned them on a planet. Look at the planets. Like, it's very weird. So then they start...
Yeah.
It was, like, made no sense. They start searching the planets. They determine the 3rd and the 4th planet in the solar system are the most likely as having some sort of life on it. 3rd planet, of course, being Mars. And they're like, well, let's keep going. They sweep the sensors towards Earth. And as soon as they hit it, like, everything just lights up. Like, there's so much data coming from Earth. There's sound and images and rhythmic noises. And they're like, Earth is generating thousands of times more data than the entire Yeerk Empire. And it's so much that they can't even, like, start making heads or tails of it. They're like, we have to go in. We have to find somebody to help us because, like, this is so much information that I don't know what any of it means. Yeah. Which is, I can really relate to that.
Seriously. That's the internet.
That is the internet. You get on, you're like, what the fuck? So, SM and Visser 1 decide they're going to go down. They kind of pick a place. They're like, well, let's just go to the dark side of the planet to take advantage of what we think is night blindness, because they see that humans do have, like, lights, artificial lights that they create. They're like, I guess we'll be under better cover at night. I don't know. We'll try it. So then they scan the air, which I appreciate them actually, like, checking that it's breathable for the hork-bajir, because they're not totally sure. It's just something that rarely happens in sci-fi.
Yes. Just step out and hope for the best.
Pretty much. It is breathable, too much oxygen, but they can stand it. They open the hatch and they get off the ship, and Visser 1 is like, this is a momentous occasion. This is my planet. Like, I did this. They then spray some weird crap in their eyes that gives them night vision, which is crazy, and I would like that, please. Then they start creeping towards where they know some people are. So they start approaching, but they don't really see humans. They see some odd dome thing and a human head, but, like, it doesn't have any limbs. They're like, what the fuck is happening? And then one pops up and they're like, oh, it is a human, but they're crouched down in some sort of hole. And then explosions all around them. They're, like, things just start blowing up. They realize they can hear these whistles coming in, and then, like, more shit just keeps blowing up in a line. And SM is like, oh my god, we're under attack. They know we're here. This is the end. And then that's when Visser 1 is like, wait a minute. You haven't noticed there's human limbs everywhere. Which is how Visser 1 notices that they're not under attack. Other humans are. So.
Yep.
I really liked... Well, I mean, I didn't like... Obviously, I'm not, like, yay, gore! But I like the description of, like, they see these things on the ground and they look just like torsos, but then it stands up and it has legs. And then later, after, like, parts of humans come flying at them, it's, like, just a human torso. And it's just a nice kind of, like, continuity thing.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
Like, oh, that's what it looks like by itself. We thought we saw that before.
Yeah.
No, now we have.
Yeah. It was nicely written there.
I also, like, again, not enjoyed necessarily, but more like the idea of, okay, so we know that Yeerks kill each other indiscriminately, just like if they say something out of turn, and they don't think very much of it, but, like, still, they were horrified by the idea of humans making war with each other. They were like, wait, what? Why would they do that? That doesn't make any sense. Like, sure, you might, I don't know, off your inferior if they say something sideways to you, but, like, making war with them, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's, like, something every alien species that we've had the ability to get that perspective on, like, it's, they've all, like, made some comment about that, and I think that that's a really awesome point. And it really adds to this next chapter coming up here, too. So, yeah.
Except for the Helmicrons.
Except the Helmicrons. The Helmicrons didn't have the capacity for any of this.
It's true. But then again, also all the other aliens think of Helmicrons as a joke, so...
Yeah.
Yeah. And the Helmicrons get a name drop in this book.
Fucking loved that part.
Yes.
All right. So they see these scattered limbs and torsos and blah, blah, blah near them. And they take off back towards their ship. They're like, oh my god, we have got to get out of here. This is nuts. And they're like, oh no, the ship is gone. And then SM sees that it's actually just slid into a crater that was caused by one of the explosions. And so the ship is damaged, but not completely broken. SM has to use some override code to get the hatch to finally open. And they eventually get in. So SM, like, rushes in like, oh my god, we've got to get out of here. This is crazy. And Visser 1 just, like, climbs on top of the ship to get a better view of the destruction all around her. And, like, SM's like, get in here. And, like, Visser 1 is just watching this line of tanks and cars and helicopters and, like, watching them blow shit up. And, like, is just astounded by, like, the amount of chaos going on around her. And so finally she gets back into the ship. And SM is like, well, are they a class 5? And Visser 1's like, I don't think so. I think they are class 5. I don't think they're class 4, and I think I have an idea of how to conquer them. I don't know. Which is a fun conversation.
Right. You're right, because that's like the central, well, not theme. What is the word I'm looking for? That's like her whole point. It's like they need it to be a class 5 so they can conquer them, because if they're a class 4, like the Andalites, it means that they're a threat and can't become hosts. Yeah. Yeah.
And, like, the only way that they're gonna live, like, it's stressed throughout the books, is if this is a class 5. Because otherwise they've stolen a ship for no reason.
Right.
Which is punishable by death, I assume.
Like so many things.
Like so many things. Like so many other minor transgressions. So SM took all night to fix the ship, but the following day they were airborne again. It's all cool. They're surveying the damage from the night before, and they can just see all of this, like, scorched earth and pockmarks and just brutality around them. SM and Visser 1 are flying low, because they're like, we don't have visual cloaking on our ship yet. That's kind of a new technology, and we weren't, like, high enough to steal a ship with that. So they're radio cloaked, but not visually cloaked. And then they see a man in the desert that's, like, just walking and probably having a horrible time, because as soon as he sees this ship, he starts waving his arms, like, thinking, oh my god, they're gonna save me, this is great. And then they, like, land next to him, they open the hatch, and the minute this man sees these 2 hork-bajirs standing there in the hatch, he just turns around and starts to run. But he's weak, like, he's hurt and tired, and Visser 1 easily catches up to him. And once they have him, Visser 1 orders SM to hold this guy's head, and SM is like, here? Now? What about your host body? Like, what are you doing? And Visser 1 weighs all of this, and she's like, well, the risk is worth it. I gotta do this. So she disengages from the hork-bajir brain, and there's that terrible moment of vulnerability between the 2 hosts, which we've seen before is when, like, people can snatch them and stuff, and, like, that's when, like, either one of the hosts are uncontrolled and can make a move. So Essem is very aware that, like, this could be the end for her, because the hork-bajir could react, the human could react, or, like, even Essem could kill her right now, because, you know, he's got shit to lose too if this is wrong, but if it's right, he could also, like, profit a lot from finding the class 5 species and taking credit and killing her. But lo and behold, she makes it through. The heat of the desert immediately dries out her slime layer in the transfer, but then she makes it into the human ear, and she's, like, crawling through all this crap and, like, pushing bones and skin aside, and she's just thinking about how momentous this moment is. Yeah, they're, like, have we ever gotten, like, this kind of visceral of a description before of a Yeerk taking over?
Don't think so. But I mean, also she's, like, really relishing in it, right? Because this is like the first time being in a human, so she's probably like, let's talk about it in detail.
Yeah, the only other time I can think of is Cassie's when she morphed into a Yeerk, but I don't think it was that intense.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think they mention, like, pushing aside bones and stuff before, which is... Sorry.
Hate it. No, it's okay. It would be worse if it were eyeballs. I have a thing about eyeballs.
Ugh, yeah.
Yeah, we don't mess with the eyes, other than spraying the night vision in it, which is cool, and I like it.
Okay.
I would like that. I want instant night vision. Whatever.
It's like mace.
It's so
it's
nice.
like the opposite of mace. It makes your eyes better.
Good mace.
Yeah, it's good mace.
I hope that's how they brand it in the stores. Is on one side mace, right next to it the good mace.
The good mace.
Oh man. So this is, like, probably the coolest Yeerk takeover moment that I've ever seen. Yeah, when Visser 1 gets in through the ear canal, there's this whole mention of, like, you know, moving. We'll skip over that. Kaycie doesn't like it. And then she starts to, like, plug into the different parts of the brain. And, like, the first part that she hits is sound, but it's not making any sense. Like, she can hear things, but, like, it's not... She can't put together what it is. So she starts pushing deeper and then finds the olfactory senses and is like, well, those aren't that good, so fuck the nose. We don't need to know anything about the nose.
Scent is stupid.
Yeah, basically. She's like, that's weak. I don't want it. So she starts hitting the brain, and, like, she thinks that she's hit, like, the human brain. And she's like, wait a minute, there's this chasm. And then she crosses the chasm, and she starts hitting the other side of the brain, where she's like, there's more sound. And, like, she's like, this is a redundant system. And then the more, like, she gets into it, the more she realizes it's completely different. Like, there's crossover of sound. Like, it's not like, oh, the left side of the brain handles all of the sound, the right side handles vision or whatever. Both parts are talking to each other, and this is allowing both parts to argue with each other and to see the different sides of the same argument. And then Visser 1's like, no wonder humans fight with each other. They fight with themselves. This whole race is insane.
Yes, I actually noted that, because I was like, the duality of human minds is, like, kind of almost foreshadowing Visser 1's, like, own duality as, like, mother, conqueror, etc. Like, it feels very much like we're planting the seeds. This is the theme of the book. Like,
yes.
I really like that.
That's so awesome. I love all of this so much.
Very same.
So Visser 1 continues to familiarize with this human body and starts looking through memories while Essem is flying low, following the hork-bajir that's running. The poor thing never thought to conceal its footprints, so, like, they literally are just following its footprints through the desert area. And Essem is very easily able to catch up to it, tie it up in the ship, and leave it in a corner moaning sadly.
Oh.
I know. Visser 1 is still distracted with all of the memories from this human. She's, like, parsing through everything that he knows, and she finds out that he has a wife and children, and that he was a house painter that was called into this war because they're desperate to get people there. This country just threw itself into a war that it wasn't prepared for. And then, like, that's when she starts commenting on more of the duality there. Like, he's scared to die, but he's proud of being a soldier, and he's proud to, like, die that way and have his son know that, like, or his sons know that he was a soldier. And Visser 1 kind of explores that for a while, is a little thrown off by how much of the human world is surrounding their children. And then once she gets all the information she needs from this dude, she's like, okay, I'm going to go back to my hork-bajir body. And Essem's like, okay, are you sure? And she's like, yeah, this guy's on the losing side of the war, so we got to get the fuck out of here and get to America where they win.
America!
It was basically like, yeah, England, France, and like, she said some other country in America are all in this
Israel,
war. But Israel, yeah.
Yeah.
Is this the Gulf War?
I think so.
Yeah, it's whatever one they said in the ship right before they landed.
Yeah, Operation
Yeah.
Desert Storm or whatever.
Yeah,
Okay.
there it
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
I'm not even going to comment on anything about this war.
It
As
was
we
in
already
the mid-90s, I think.
Yeah, early. Yeah, I was like 2 or 3. I was too busy watching Little Mermaid. Okay.
Late 80s, early 90s? I don't know. Oh, gosh.
Bush, I think. Anyway.
All I know is we have a dear friend that will correct us on Reddit if I say anything about this. So I'm going to say nothing.
Oh boy.
What's the saying? Like, I'd rather, like, it's better to close your mouth and be thought an idiot than open your mouth and prove it.
Ooh, I've
that
never
the
heard
one?
that.
Really?
I have, and listen, I already just threw out some random guesses about when Desert Storm happened. And I stand by that.
There you go. I appreciate that. I really like standing, as you know, as a fan of Rachel, I really enjoy just making a point and standing by it, right or wrong.
Yeah, whether or not I was absolutely wrong, which I probably was, it's
But
fine.
you said it with authority, and that's all that matters.
That's how politicians get away with stuff. Oh, damn!
Speaking of politicians,
Yes.
this memory dump fades away. So the first thing that happens is Visser 3 is like, why do we have to sit through all of this? And they're like, dude, because you said you wanted to see this. And the council's like,
This is your idea,
don't.
stupid!
this is your fucking idea, Visser 3. And then Visser 3 is like, well, the early days, I can just like say whatever's on the record. We can just gloss right over it. And the council goes, so if you're on trial, Visser 3, you'll really appreciate us watching all of your evidence too. And that's like the council subtly warning him, you too are on trial here, my dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then the council agrees to adjourn for a short break so they can chill for 15 to 20 minutes, I guess.
Just
I don't
need
know.
a short recess.
Yeah, they're like, we're just gonna go walk around for a bit, stretch our legs. This has been an intense memory dump.
Taxons probably need more food. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. The hork-bajir eventually do. Apparently not this run, but at some point. And Visser 3 is like gonna be super nice here. He's like, oh, I remember humans have to eat. So he brings Visser 1 a glass of water, a head of lettuce, and 2 raw eggs. And she's like, how can you be so dumb? She's like, this is why you are no further in taking over the planet than when you first landed here.
Oh my god.
I love that she's just like, you've been here forever. How do you know humans just don't eat a head of lettuce and raw? What is wrong with you?
Yep.
I was like, do you even have a refrigerator? Like, what's going on?
It's like he looked at one of those like flashcards that showed you like, what do people buy at the grocery store? And it was like lettuce and 2 eggs. And he's like, a meal. Fantastic.
They have a cafeteria in the Yeerk pool.
Yeah.
Like, what? I don't... Ugh. Visser
Yeah.
3. My goodness.
And also, just speaking of that cafeteria and what they serve, every single one of those Yeerks should be bodybuilders with that diet that they have going on
Yeah.
there. It's
Right?
amazing. Perfect.
Oh,
Where did
was
he
like,
even
oh.
get 2 raw eggs and a head of lettuce in this place?
Is he trolling her or is he incompetent? I don't
he
know.
could be trolling her.
Oh,
You can never
that's
tell
true.
with Visser 3.
Because, like, lettuce is mostly water, and you can't really eat raw eggs without risking getting sick. So maybe he is trolling her.
You know, I don't I honestly don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I hope he's trolling her, because this is real sad if he's not.
In any case, she only drinks the water.
Yeah, she only drinks the water because she's being tortured for weeks on end and is very thirsty. And then Visser 3, like, switches tactics, and he's like, hey, man, why were we never allies? Like, we could have taken over this place together as friends. And then, like, Visser 1 almost drops the water that she's holding in shock. She's like, dude, I know you're recording this interaction and you're just trying to get me to say something treasonous because nobody can hear you and your fucking thought speech. So, like, I know you're just trying to, like, get me. And then Visser 3 realizes he's caught. And, like, at that moment, the council, like, pops back into the room.
God.
Like, it's, yeah.
Just no subtlety.
No.
None.
Oh, he's so bad at it.
He is.
He is. He is. And also, I, like, not only is he bad at it, but a shout out to, like, Visser 1, who, with all of this other extraneous shit going on, anything that would dismiss an Earth trial, like, broken bones and torture and that sort of shit, still being able to stand there and, like, say her piece is, like, really cool.
Yeah, I was shocked at how, like, articulate she was throughout this book. Like, she's talking for hours on end, pretty much, and they're sitting through hours of this, like, memory dump, and she's, like, very physically not well, but she's handling it. I was like, props, man.
Yeah.
She is highly competent.
Yes.
So, which is scary in a villain, but also she's very compelling to read.
She's a great villain.
Yeah.
She's an amazing villain. And, like, especially after, like, what Kaycie said earlier, when we saw her last time, it was like, well, I have a ship to uncloak. Well, I have a bigger ship to uncloak. Like, it was that bullshit. And, like, to see her here is so much more impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe Visser 3 just, like, brings her down a notch in my book. You know?
I could see that.
Like, I'm like, you're so great, except when you're arguing with Visser 3 and then you sound like children, but whatever.
Yeah, he really drags her into it, I think.
Yeah.
Like, even though he's really incompetent, he is a polarizing figure. Mm-hmm. So I can buy some of it being that he just, like, is very good at, like, kind of needling out the insane shit out of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's true.
I'll give him that.
He's good at being irritating.
He's very good at being irritating. He's very good at being loud. Like, it's like when you're arguing with a kid and they're just like, but why? But why? But why? Until you say something dumb. Like, that's what he's good at. And then he's like, ha, that was dumb. And you're like, shut up. You don't know anything.
Who looks stupid now? You do.
Just frustrated people on his way up the ladder.
Yeah.
Very frustrating. Which works for him against Visser 1, but it totally does not work for him against the council. The council's like, shut up, dude. Like, you're so fucking annoying. You're only here because you have an Andalek host body, you asshole.
You did this one cool thing once. You're still coasting off of that.
Yeah.
You're riding your own coattails in a giant circle, you douchebag.
Oh my god.
Man. Ay. So, anyways, the council dials back into this shit show.
This Google chat.
This G chat. Yeah. That is good that there was no lag time between the council and the trial.
There's like one guy who's like, "Oh, I'm having connection problems. Can you guys see me? Is my mic on?" Like,
the one like Taxon stops moving completely and is frozen in one position while everybody else just keeps going. And then some other asshole suddenly has like glasses and a mustache floating where their face is generally. You're like, how did I do this?
Oh my god, I love it so much. I'm dying. Oh my god.
I would love to watch that scenario happen in a trial.
This is like the SNL skit of this scene.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, anyway.
Anyways, So they're back. They go back into the memory dump from the time where SM and Visser 1 were spending time above Earth. And this was the point where their supplies are starting to run dangerously low. They've been studying the data that's coming from Earth for a long time and trying to parse through it. And they're like, we either have to land or die, I guess. So SM's like, I will need water within a few hours. We find out Visser 1 just drank all the water, being the super nice person that she is. And they're trying to, like, just process what's going on. And they're having troubles deciding whether or not they want to land, mostly because the data they're getting is so confusing. So they're like, okay, they have, like, this, we know it as a bow and arrow, but they're like, you know, this stick thing that they pull back on a string and that fires. They have some, like, primitive combustion weapon that, like, shoots things at people at high speeds. Then they have a nuclear bomb, which is kind of scary. But then also they have this crazy weapon called a phaser that just, like, uses concentrated light to blow people off. Then they're like, so we don't know what their weapons are like. And then they're like, okay, so, like, they go really slow. They have all these slow methods of transport, but then they can travel 6 times the speed of light, which, like, none of us can do. That's really advanced. So, like, it's just awesome. Like, Star Trek almost ruined the invasion of Earth.
That would have been great.
Right? That. What if they just left now? They're like, listen, they got phasers. We're fucking out. Like, we can't do this.
Warp speed? What?
Yeah, warp speed. And, like, they're like, they established that warp is, like, a measure of light. So 6? That's crazy. Like, it's awesome. Just awesome. So then they're like, okay, we know that there are 4 main cities that are the most important places in America. So we have to just pick one at random. And they have New York, Washington, D.C., D-E-E-C-E-E, L.A., E-L-L-A-Y, or Hollywood. And they're like, from the data we've gathered, Hollywood's the most important. So they picked that one.
Also, they basically say that Canada is arbitrary.
They do. They do say, they're like, Canada is an arbitrary border, and then they say, like, Mexico is only separated by an unimportant river.
Jesus.
That's right.
Which is my favorite assessment of how Canada and Mexico came to be of all time.
God.
Dang, Yeerks.
Yeah. This is really rough. As the Canadian here, with all of my good friend coworkers being in Mexico, I have to say, this is excellent.
It's all about Hollywood, you guys.
So, this is the other great part. They're like, we gotta go to Hollywood because that's the most important. And then they fly down, and there's literally the giant Hollywood sign. They're like, oh yes, almost as if they expected us to land here. Like, we've made it to Hollywood.
Oh, there it is, right there. Excellent.
They labeled it for us in giant letters. Fantastic.
Couldn't possibly get lost.
So, SM and Visser 1 land, and they're, like, creeping out this nearby dwelling, and they can see that there's a pool of water in the backyard, and they measure it and, like, oh, you could put, like, 10,000 Yeerks in here. I don't know what that means. I'm assuming it's a large pool. Whatever. So they brush past some sticks that they think may have been a primitive fence, and I don't know if these are bushes or they straight up knocked down some, like, wood fence here.
I like to think it's that one, but they just knocked down a wooden fence.
I do too. I really like to think they just, like, slashed it down, like, we're here, bitches. So then they get in there, and they're like, oh, look, there's the pool. SM, go drink water because you're about to die. So he starts to drink water. I know. I'm going, no. As he starts drinking, a scantily clad human female pops out the other end of the pool, and then SM grabs his face, and he's like, it's burning, it's burning. And this woman is, like, totally unsurprised that they're there. She's like, oh, the studio sent you guys. And then, like, SM is clutching his face, going like, oh, it burns, it burns. She's like, oh, the pool guy was here earlier today. He always overdoes it with the chlorine. Sorry.
Oh, God.
I was just saying, like, just completely chill at, you know, giant aliens.
Yeah.
Ain't no
she
thing.
had nothing to be concerned about with these guys.
Yeah.
But then my favorite part happens, which is right here, which is where she casually mentions the guys inside making drinks, and then Visser 1 goes, are you female? And she, like, grabs her boobs and, like, twists around being like, I hope I'm female.
I was like, what?
It was the weirdest fucking thing.
Pressing some portions forward aggressively. Okay.
Like, all right.
Man, so good. And I can just picture it so clearly as well. I just know this person. Anyways, so the man comes out of the house with drinks, and Essam and Visser 1 are like having a short discussion about like, what host do you want? I'll take the chick, you take the dude. Visser 1's like, I'm taking the chick because like the guy is older and not as limber, and they're like, okay. And like the dude is totally unconcerned. He's like, who are these guys? And the chick's like, oh, the studio sent them. He's like, oh, makes sense. Right up until the point when Essam and Visser 1 pounce on this chick and, again, hold their heads together so Visser 1 can get from the hork-bajir host into the human. And the dude is like, I'm calling the police and my lawyer, and runs inside. So for a brief few moments, he's free, and then Essam takes over him. And by the time the police show up, it's just the two people there because they have Draken beamed the hork-bajir into nothing.
Rude.
Those poor hork-bajir.
I felt bad for them. But
yeah,
it's kind of better than the alternative that they do later in the book. I don't really know. I shouldn't assert that.
What? Yeah, I mean, there's just gonna be a lot of disregarding host bodies in this book.
Yeah. It gets serial killery pretty quick.
Yeah.
So Visser 3 quickly realizes she's taken over this girl named Jenny, which I kept reading as Jenny, but there's no reason for that. There's no call for that.
8675309.
Oh my god, that would be so awesome if all of their Yeerk numbers matched up to 8675309. Oh, they don't, but it'd be really cool.
Damn it, that would be great.
Yes.
Oh.
Anyways, Jenny has nothing happening in her life. She calls herself an actress, but she's like, this was a very bleak view on people that go to Hollywood to act.
It was real sad.
It was very
also
sad.
A little cliche, but also it was the 90s, so I'm gonna let it slide.
It's not the worst we've seen from Animorphs.
Yeah.
That's for sure. But yeah, she's just this like depressing girl from Arkansas who's never had a real job, has never worked in her life, and was addicted to some mind-altering chemicals. I think they meant like coke, ecstasy? What are we thinking they meant?
Probably coke or something like, I don't know, trendy drugs in the 90s.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think coke was pretty trendy in the 90s.
Yeah, especially in like, I'm assuming the Hollywood scene, probably thinking, I would say coke.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. I thought it might have been ecstasy, but I don't know why. I just made that assumption.
Everything.
I'm just not cool in the drug world, guys. I just don't know.
Well, it's also an addictive drug. Is ecstasy addictive?
Oh, good question. I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, let me Google it. We're really not doing well for drug facts here, guys.
We need a resident drug expert.
They weren't as
who shall not be named.
They weren't as PSA about this particular drug user. I feel like they didn't mention like oh, I did some research and drugs are actually really bad for you, kids.
They literally at one point are like, it's easier to control this host when she's on drugs because her brain is like a hollow shell, so we don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe you're supposed to infer it because it's a villain.
Yeah.
But like the coolest drop in here though is at one point Visser 1 goes, we considered starting the invasion with drug addicts because they were so easy to control, but then we're like, they didn't do anything with their lives, so we dismissed it.
It was a real rough.
Yeah. It's really sad, but like it was an interesting from the Yeerk perspective, it's interesting that they thought about starting there. Mm-hmm. Research has not definitively answered whether or not MDMA is addictive. So we don't know. Don't know.
Gone with coke.
Don't know.
Don't do drugs.
Don't do the drugs.
Don't do
It'll
the
make
drugs.
you a controller, maybe.
Susceptible to becoming a controller.
Yes.
Yeah, it'll make it easy to make you a controller.
Do you want that? Do you?
Yeah, do you want that? Do you want it to be easy for you to be a controller? No.
Take it from us, kids.
We shouldn't spew propaganda either. They also go into cults too. So we should let's just back out of all of this carefully.
Fair point. Hitting the reverse.
Yeah. So Visser 1 gets this really interesting perspective because she has inhabited this like really kind of easy to control chick that has nothing going on, is addicted to drugs, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, Essam is like, this host has had multiple jobs and experiences, and he mentions, like, my host wasn't originally from this country. He came from somewhere else where he had nothing, and he experienced something worse than what a Taxon would bear, but we don't ever find out what that is.
I was thinking...
Okay, so...
Go ahead.
Holocaust?
Yeah, I was thinking Holocaust.
Okay, same.
Yeah, I was thinking that or just another war-ravaged, like, you know, something terrible like that where war has come in and caused him to be, like, homeless or tortured or put in bad situations. Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to do the math to try and figure out, like, oh, how old could this guy be if, you know, maybe it was the Holocaust. But then I also remembered that I'm bad at math because, again, I did think that 2019 was 10 years ago. So... or wait, 1999 was 10 years ago? Again, math.
It's hard. And it's year math, so it's not even real math. It's hard. But, like, let's say, so what? Her son is 7, so back at, let's say, 10 years ago that this was happening. This book was published in 1999, so it was 89. So the guy being a successful Hollywood producer in his, what did they say, 50s?
They said he
so,
was
yeah,
older.
it could have been the Holocaust.
Yeah. That was, like, 1940 or so.
40s. Yeah. Yeah, so that could have been his childhood.
That sucks.
So back, again, another Holocaust drop in Animorphs books.
Oh boy.
Oh man, Jeff, save me. So anyways.
Who's Jeff?
He's our buddy that gives us all the war facts.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Cassowary Morph.
Yeah, Cassowary Morph. Wait, should we drop his Reddit handle here and his real name?
I don't know. That's what editing is for.
He cross-posted. It's fine.
Yeah.
Delete everything. Anyways, Essam gets a very different view of humans than Visser 1 initially gets. And this causes a lot of tension between the two of them later in the books. And even now, Essam is like, there's not a lot of weakness here. Like, people are really strong. And my host, he thinks that the way to move forward in this world is to get people to laugh. And, like, you know, he's really a strong dude. And Visser 1 disagrees. She's like, they are weak with few strengths, not strong with few weaknesses. And that's when we cut out of that memory. And Visser 1 is kind of like basking in the afterglow of reliving that memory because that was one of the first moments where she saw this very bright future and this very clear plan for taking over Earth. And Visser 3 just immediately jumps on her and starts accusing her of being incorrect and underestimating humans. And Visser 1 goes, well, no, I wasn't completely right at first. Like, my initial assessment wasn't totally correct when all I had was the soldier and Jenny. But when I left Earth, I left it in prime position to be taken over, and you fucked it up. And then Visser 3 argues, he's like, that was before the Andalites left a special weaponized force of highly trained fighters on Earth.
AKA 6 children.
Yeah, 6 children. And that is all. And Visser 1 considers doing the exact same thing we just did to the council right now, being like, yes, highly trained children, and some of them human. Sure, whatever.
Yeah.
And then Ava's kind of like, yeah, do it. Say something to the council. But Visser 1's like, no, good. So Visser 3 continues to accuse her of treason. Visser 1 argues back, and then it gets heated and more heated until finally Visser 1 raises his tail blade and snaps it towards her. She throws herself to the ground, re-breaking bones that haven't healed properly. Yeah. And that's about the moment that she realizes he wasn't aiming at her, she was aiming at these 2 hork-bajir who had started attacking. And then she hears the roar of a tiger, and Visser 3 goes, the Andalite bandits are here!
The Bandalites!
And a tiger and a grizzly bear. The Bandalites have come! A tiger and a grizzly bear bust into the room. So Ava's watching this battle go down, and she's terrified, right? Because she's just a weak, very broken human right now in the middle of all of this chaos of things that can actually fight. And she starts looking around for the other two Bandolites. She's like, they always travel in sixes, and then she goes on a little bit about like how there's usually one Andalite with them. Nobody really knows if it's because they need them to know that they're the Andalites, or he's kind of like the banner that they wave, like we're going to battle or something.
Mm-hmm. Oh, my boy.
I know, your little Axie boy.
My boy, my son.
your gentle
blue,
child. Your sweet
son.
summer child.
Little blue boy. Anyway.
And Visser 1 needs to look like she isn't rooting for the Bandolites, so she goes to a fallen hork-bajir, takes his gun, and fires it towards the tiger. But the shot misses because, like, her bone is at an angle that makes it not a straight shot.
Oh my god.
She's so broken.
Please heal her. I mean, not, again, her, but
Yeah.
Ava. So.
Poor Ava.
Yeah. Just having to deal with all of this shit.
Right?
And then she watches the tiger turn and slash the bear's face, and she, like, hesitates for a second. She's like, wait a minute. And then she watches the hork-bajir that are going after Visser 3, and the look of betrayal on one of the hork-bajir's face before he slashes it down. And that's when she realizes, like, oh my god, this asshole just shoved a starving tiger and bear into the room with us, these wild fucking animals, and ordered 2 hork-bajir to attack him. So then Visser 3, like, cuts off the tiger's head, somebody shoots the bear, the hork-bajir are killed, and Visser 3 is like, look at that, neatly tied up, I've killed all the Andalites.
You unsubtle fuck.
God. Just the lack of foresight by Visser 3 is truly astounding.
Fucking child man.
He's such an idiot. Like, he's just so dumb, like...
I'll
like
get
he-
some wild
okay.
animals to come in and attack us.
Yeah, the wild, like, but also, it's not like the Andalites would never attack again. So he still has to report back to the council that they're still on Earth.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
ruse would never have worked.
Uh,
I get so frustrated with him.
Ugh.
And this is about the point that Visser 1's like, I wish I were a traitor, so I could call the Animorphs to come and expose this fucking ruse.
Dun, dun,
This is
dun.
about the time that Visser 3 has a Law and Order moment, and he's like, I'm going to call a surprise witness to the trial.
dun dun.
Dun, dun.
So Visser 3 calls to the stand a homeless man with a greasy, stringy beard who people all call Spacey. This guy's like looking around the courtroom like, that's an Andalite. Do you see that guy? Do you see this? I'm not the only one see it. That's a fucking Andalite, right? Oh my god, hork-bajir! I know what those are! Like, he's so astounded that all of these things that he talks about are finally here in front of him. And Visser 1's like laughing. She's like, what is the meaning of bringing a homeless Earthman in here? And Visser 3 is like, he is a witness. And I promise him a bottle of alcohol if he tells the truth. And the man's like, oh, okay, like, I guess. And so he starts like talking about his time on Earth. And Visser 3 is like, do you know Essam? And the man's like, yeah, I was infested for a ton of years by Essam. He was like a friend of mine. And that's fucking weird. And then he goes,
Yep.
do you know Edris 562? And the guy's like, oh my god, Allison Kim. Essam was in love with her. That's great. And this is where this homeless guy reveals the largest plot twist in the series. They have had 2 children together.
Babies.
Edris and Essam. Da-da-da, babies.
Yup.
They
Like,
had babies.
they had babies.
How is
2.
Babby formed?
How a girl
Well-
got pregnant.
When one Yeerk loves another Yeerk, who's also just human, loves that human.
Oh no. I was just going, I hope
boy.
everyone was on board with this because otherwise those poor hosts.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And like, so that, okay, not to like just, it's coming up in like the next chapter, but the weirdest part was they were all on board with
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this gets real interesting.
I
yeah.
also feel like now I'm kind of like skipping forward too, but I wonder if they just already had a supply of Kandrona rays, but they're just like, I don't know, figured out a way to make all 4 of them work. Just raise 2 kids together, it's totally fine. They're not starving. They don't need to. I'm skipping ahead, but Maybe? Probably not.
Maybe. I don't know.
Probably not. She's too ambitious. Well, there's nothing wrong with an ambitious woman. But when you're also a mass murderer, maybe ambition's a little bit of a bad thing.
Yeah. Like, ambitious not to the level of murder, good. Once you start murdering, not good.
I wish mass murderers were
great.
less ambitious, personally.
Yes.
I shouldn't joke about that.
Man, if serial killers just on a Friday night could ramp it down a notch, that would be really nice.
Oh, God.
Man. Yeah, Visser 1. She's a special cookie here.
Yes.
So, Visser 1 is stunned, and Ava is outraged. She's like, how the fuck could you make children just to be enslaved? What is wrong with you? Like, you were evil before, and now you're at a level that I cannot even comprehend. And Visser 1's hesitating because she's dealing with this onslaught of her own emotions about her children, and also Ava's attack in her mind, and also Visser 3, like, gloating and going on about it. And she tells the council that they did indeed procreate. And the council's like, well, we gotta hear this. Like, you've gotta tell us this story. And Visser 1's like, I can practically hear my own screams from Visser 3's torture chamber at this point.
Oh, no.
At this point, I think we go back into another memory dump. There's parts of this that, like, Visser 1 is telling, and some of it that we just kind of skip back into a memory dump. At this point, I think it's still a memory dump. I didn't write it down, of course. I was taking so many notes, and yet I missed this.
I think it might be a memory dump.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah, I can't remember this. It might have been, or maybe it was Ava experiencing it from Visser 1's perspective. Well, Visser 1 talked it out.
There are so many, like, perspective switches in this book, and I was reading the PDF version, so, like, it's not, like, completely accurate. Like, some things are in brackets, and other things are in quotes, and other things are in just, like, regular text. And so I was...
Oh, that's very confusing.
Yeah, I was just like, I'm just gonna take it as it comes, I guess.
Even reading the book, there was a moment where Ava and Visser 1 start talking, and they don't... It just goes into a conversation, but they don't, like, lead into it, like, Ava said this, or Ava was watching this, and it was a response. It literally just jumps from, like, description, conversation, and it, like, I inferred eventually that it was Ava and Visser 1 talking, but it took me, like, 8 to 10 sentences before I, like, was like, oh, okay, that's what's happening.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, it was very hard, especially when there was a lot of, like, chaotic scenes happening, because it was like Visser 3 saying this, but then there's a whole other narrative happening in here, and, like, it's all over the place.
You know what I did appreciate, though? Is that there are times where Ava and Visser 1 are, like, communicating with each other, and then one of the council will be like, why the fuck are you pausing so long? Like, I asked you a question. I liked that they were acknowledging the time skips instead of it just being like, Sailor Moon is in the middle of fighting a battle, and then she transforms into Sailor Moon for 5 minutes, but, like, no time has passed in real life, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
So, I appreciate that. Sorry, I made a cookie.
What is going on with you today, Kaycie?
I need food.
She's a hungry girl.
I am.
How much food do you have next to you is my question.
I don't know.
See, now I want food,
I'm sorry.
but I'm gonna wait. No, it's fine.
It wouldn't be an Animorphs Anonymous podcast if Kaycie didn't eat one time
sorry.
on the show. Don't be sorry.
That's like that Axe energy. I like it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I'm just waiting for the day that we get sponsored by Cinnabon. Even though they never sponsored Animorphs, somehow they'll find our dinky show and sponsor us. And Kaycie will have to eat one every episode.
I like it.
Honestly, that sounds like a great sacrifice to me.
Yeah.
Right? We'll make sure, just because of what you said, that if we have a guest on, that they too get a Cinnabon every time.
Perfect.
Somehow. I don't know how it'll work, because there's not Cinnabons everywhere, but we'll make it.
I don't even know the last time I've seen a Cinnabon that wasn't in an airport.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're only in airports and malls.
Yeah.
There's no standalone Cinnabons.
Yeah.
Which is stupid. There should be a Cinnabon, like, food truck.
Yes.
They'd make fucking bank.
Oh my god! Yeah, I would totally pick that over an ice cream truck any day of the week.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cinnabon, get on
the
this shit.
Can you imagine the cinnamon smell like wafting as they drive down the road? Right? Oh, man.
Anyway.
What a weird dream we just all had together.
I like that journey we went on, though. That was great.
I did too. That was a good walkabout. So anyways, we're in some sort of recap here, and we hear about Visser 1 staying as Jenny for a while, and how Essam lived as Lowenstein, who was a producer that we learned about. And they were just learning about humans, and Jenny was like showing Visser 1 the underbelly of society. Well, Essam got to go, like, work on a fun comedy TV show every day and have, like, a real cool time. And meanwhile, Visser 1's buying drugs in the alleyway. So they were like, well, we need better host bodies because these ones are kind of hard to deal with. So they took Allison Kim and Hildy Gervais. And that's when the homeless dude's like, Hildy Gervais is my real name. And Visser 1's like, cool. So anyways, here's how this happened. So Jenny stuck around Lowenstein for a while. They lived in like the mansion house together because they wanted to stay together, obviously, as the two Yeerks on Earth. And they went to a bunch of parties, like cast parties, production parties, whatever. And at one of these parties, Visser 1 saw Allison, who was not a drug addict. She was like a scientist and a creative person and everything that Jenny was not. And she's like, that chick, she's fucking cool. I want to be her. So they're in this pool together at this party, and Visser 1's like, I see my chance to strike. She grabbed Allison when she was still Jenny and made it look like they were having like some play game where she's like, I'm going to dunk Allison, super cool. But as soon as she pulls Allison underwater, she punches her in the stomach, slams her in the side of the head, and then like forces their ears together underwater. And this is also the time that Visser 1 mentions they long ago stopped using chlorine in this pool. Mm-hmm. And then Visser 1 transfers from one body to the other and holds on for as long as she possibly can. But the last connection she has with Jenny's body, she orders her to breathe. Ugh. And then Visser 1 goes over into Allison's body. Yikes. As soon as Visser 1 took over Allison's body, she forces her to drag Jenny up to the surface and make an attempt to resuscitate her, which of course fails as it had to.
Yes. I was just going to say that part where she, like, you know, holds on to her control of Jenny for as long as possible at the very last minute and then, like, gives her that one last command to breathe was just chilling. Oh, yeah. Reading it.
Yes.
It was written so well.
Yeah.
It was. Like, I think of the entire series, I think of all the times that, like, people have been injured or killed and, like, how we've read it. And it's always kind of been subtle. And this one was, like, it was so chilling because it was, like, the first moment of, like, she actively just murdered this person fully aware of what she did. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It was intense.
Like, using her own body against her, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the making an attempt to resuscitate her, too. Like, knowing she was going to do it wrong. Mm-hmm. So she died. Hey, Andalek Bandalites. So that was the kind of depressing note that we decided to end on here. And I realized that this part 1 of Visser is a little bit shorter than our normal episodes, which run right up against our 2-hour time limit. And this one's going to be closer to like an hour and a half. I promise it's only because this felt like a natural ending point, and part 2 of Visser will be our normal episode length. So don't worry, I guess, or rejoice that it's shorter, or whatever it is that you feel you've got going on. So now I get the distinct pleasure of doing the outros completely on my own, which is always a fun experiment for me. But this week I'm particularly excited about it. So when Kaycie leaves me alone, I get to play in this space. So you, of course, I'm sure at this point know our normal places to go. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Animorphs Anonymous. I don't know if that'll work. I don't know if that URL will work. But the one that will work is facebook.com/group/Animorphs Anonymous. That's our super secret, super awesome Andalek Bandalites group that has been really fun these past few weeks. Like, really picking up a lot of good conversations, a lot of fun talking to people. So thank you everybody that's in there.
And to the few people who aren't in there, and I know I've heard from a couple of you via email, like I don't have Facebook, which is really impressive. I'm jealous of you, but thank you guys just for being in the group and having fun with us, or sending me emails if you're not in the group and just talking to me. It's awesome. I appreciate all of it. And if you want to send me emails, that can happen at anonymousanimorphs@gmail.com. We also have a Twitter, which is at animorphsanon, and an Instagram where you can see all my terrible images that I make for each episode, which is at animorphsanonymous on Instagram. Kaycie normally does the podcatchers, but I know we're on Podbean, we're on Stitcher, we're on iTunes, we're on Podcast Republic. We're on Google Play. I don't know. We're everywhere. We're all over the internet now. We've hit every part of the internet that could possibly happen. That's our normal thing. So now I'm gonna take us off the rails of what we normally do, and thank our guest for this episode, Myisha. Seriously, thank you so much. It was so much fun recording with you guys. And normally here is where we'd start plugging stuff for guests and Kaycie. So I want to do that, and I want to talk to you guys seriously about it. Kaycie doesn't hear this before this is going up. This is just going to go up without her knowledge. This is between us. This is our secret time where we can talk about things. So Kaycie does a webcomic. It's called B-Side You. And she normally gives a URL here. It's just B, the letter B, side U. And it is awesome. She has a Patreon for it where you can like get behind the scenes stuff. It's on a little bit of a hiatus right now, but it's really cool. She posts a lot of stuff about how she does the drawings and like how she creates each one of the images and doing things. Like she did one really cool one, which was like a layout of the school and how she used actual like pictures and like building things to like lay out how it would go. And it's just a really awesome, heartfelt comic about music and romance and high school. And it's just a really fun nostalgia trip, like just to kind of get those feelings back of like high school, college days where your whole future's ahead of you. It's awesome. And incorporating music into it is fantastic. And since I've known Kaycie, I have always adored her drawing style. But seriously, she's that good. It's amazing. So for sure, follow Kaycie's comic. It's amazing. Now, I want to talk about Myisha's comic, which I don't know as much about, but she plugs it at the end of our regular episode. So I'm sure I won't do it justice here, but I've got to talk about it, and I have to talk about it now. It is called The Substitutes. The URL that you can go to is thesubstitutescomic.com. I started reading it after recording the episode because I was like, I've got to check this out. And I haven't gotten too far into the story, but it's amazing. First of all, I don't want to spoil too much of it, but very cool historical stuff, very cool fantasy stuff, very cool portals. And I have to just talk for like 10 to 15 minutes, I swear, that's it, about how amazing her world building shots are. Like, the drawing style that she uses is so incredible in this, and like the way that she plays with light in her comic and just the styling of it is incredible and earthreal and beautiful. So like, you have got to check this out. You've got to check both of these comics out because they are both amazing. Kaycie and Myisha are amazing artists, amazing people, obviously, excellent podcasting friends, but seriously, check out their comics. They are so cool. So this has been our fun secret time where we talk amongst ourselves about things that we love, and I love their comics so much. So thank you guys so much for listening. We will be back. This is our Visser, like Chronicles, Andalek, Megamorphs kind of thing. So this is where we do our thing where we pretend that we're a weekly podcast. So we will be back 1 week from today. That's next, I don't know, Saturday, Sunday, something like that. And we'll be posting part 2 of Visser with Myisha, of course, and Kaycie, as per usual. So it's going to be a ton of fun. I'll come back at you. You'll get to hear them talk about their work, so you won't hear my, like, ramblings of a madwoman here. But, again, B-Side You comic, The Substitutes, check them out. They are both amazing comics and gorgeous and beautiful and so much fun, and I love them both. For real. Seriously. I don't just say this because these are my friends, because That would be bullshit. These are both amazing comics. It's a disservice. Pretend they're my enemies. Their comics are amazing. You should read them both. Okay. I'll stop now because I think Kaycie and Myisha will listen to this. And I don't want to embarrass them too much, but also between us, dear listeners, and me, Alex, between us, seriously, read them. All right. See you guys next week. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, and hopefully it wasn't too short for you, even though I think like 2 hours is frowned upon generally in the podcasting world. But thank you guys for being here. You guys are awesome. I love you all. Thank you. Bye.